A Dallas police officer is suing Black Lives Matter and associates, accusing them of inciting the race war. Sergeant Demetric Penny has filed a federal lawsuit against Black Lives Matter leaders and others, blaming the movement for race riots and violence against police officers. The officer, who is also black, is a 17-year law enforcement veteran and president of the Dallas Fallen Officer Foundation. The suit accuses Black Lives Matter leaders of inciting supporters and others to engage in threats and attacks against law enforcement officers around the country, including the July 7th murders of 5 Dallas officers by Micah Johnson after a Black Lives Matter demonstration. The listed defendants include not only those associated with the Black Lives movement, but public figures like Reverend Al Sharpton, Hillary Clinton, and President Obama. Are they the ones to blame for the anti-cop violence? That's our topic this half hour. And as always, we like to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can weigh in on Twitter too. Use the hashtag Fox26Roundup. Joining us live in the newsroom, our panel led by our senior legal analyst Chris Tritico, Democratic media consultant Mustafa Tamiz, and Republican strategist and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning again.
Good morning.
What do you think of this suit? Does it have any weight to it?
These cases rarely have legs. Most of the statements that you make are protected by the First Amendment. You know, you can't shout fire in a movie theater or a crowded place like that, but making statements about public events and in a public venue typically are protected by the First Amendment. That's going to be their first hurdle. Suing the president, Hillary Clinton, Al Sharpton, probably isn't going to go anywhere, but we'll see what happens here. Jackie Bally, it seemed to me that when he filed the suit and he names the president, Hillary Clinton, it becomes a political statement more than what he was trying to accomplish in a lawsuit.
I can definitely understand his frustration. We've had targeted crimes against cops, a 75% increase in targeted crimes against cops this year alone. So I can definitely see why he feels that they're at war with certain members in certain communities. They are being targeted. You've seen interviews from some members of Black Lives Matter who have said, at least the one gentleman who did the shooting in Dallas, that was his main intention, was to hurt a white person, preferably a white cop. Unfortunately for Black Lives Matter, people like that gentleman are taking over the face of the movement. I said that back in Ferguson. The whole Black Lives Matter movement has turned into looking at how we can improve black lives, and now it's turned into let's kill white cops because of people like that gentleman in Dallas.
The Dallas event was billed as nonviolent. I don't know if this is the right venue to file this lawsuit.
Look, I mean, it's not a real lawsuit, right? Because of all the people that it's not going to go anywhere because of how it's filed. My father retired from the New York City Police Department after 18 years of service as a civilian. There's a database that they have on their website where you can check, you know, dates. And so I put the dates in when he served for 18 years. There was 77 shootings of police officers in that time period. And I remember some of those times, what it was like in our household. And in the last year and a half, I've trained over 1,500 police officers in Houston and in Garland, Texas. So, you know, I spent a lot of time with police officers. There's some real issues that have to be resolved, and there's some real issues on the community side. So these type of things are not helpful because it politicizes the issue that really needs to be worked together with communities.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, we'll head over to Twitter. Talk to Tia now. She's been up with us all morning long. Thanks, Tia, for joining us. She says suing Black Lives Matter for the riot of one man is like suing Walmart because you bought a bad apple. Good point there she has. I mean, you can't loop them all into one group, which is what we've all been saying for a while now.
It is, and it kind of throws us back into the Colin Kaepernick argument. I mean, the lawsuit against Black Lives Matter may not be the right venue to create the discussion that you were talking about earlier.
Well, it is his right, just like it's Kaepernick's right, and people may not agree with it. This gentleman feels like law enforcement officers do not have the support of elected officials. That's probably the message he is trying to send. I have not spoken to him, but based on what he said on his lawsuit and who he's targeting, and a lot of people have felt that this administration has not supported law enforcement officers. And again, it goes back to Ferguson and the handling of that, and when Eric Holder went into Ferguson and made disparaging remarks against cops. And we've seen the movement in Black Lives Matter, and unfortunately we've seen more people being very strongly against police officers and law enforcement officers coming out of that movement.
What about that?
Yeah, partly when you support people means you support them to be successful, not you cheerlead them to be unsuccessful, right? And I think that we have to kind of have leadership on both sides, kind of bringing people together, and that's what's going to be important. Put yourself in the shoes of someone in a law enforcement family sending out their loved one to go work for that day, and you don't know if they're going to come back, or people in communities of color that send their kids out that day and don't know if there's a police altercation that may prevent their child from coming back home. That's how we have to think about this. This affects real people's lives. This is not a political talking point where you jab each other just to kind of win the political news cycle of the day.
All right. So we got less than a minute, and I hear both of you saying the same thing. We need to have a discussion. You're mad at Colin Kaepernick. You don't like the lawsuit. So how do we have a discussion if nobody's willing to sit down?
Yes, and that's the difficult part because it is politicized. Our current Democratic